Seriously,
Alright,
I cannot stand Tangled.
Alright. Hello!
So,
Wait,
Zootopia.
we're recording, right?
Yeah.
You be the host this time. I had plans to pull our weight across during the Star Wars review.
Okay, go
Alright, so...
We're gonna edit this
everybody-
out, by the way.
Are we?
Yes!
Put it into bloopers. Whatever.
If at all. Okay, let's do this.
So, last week we went to see Zootopia, and...
Yeah,
No, Disney, no.
Okay, actually, it's been a week since we've seen it, so honestly, let's go back to our opinions. Has it aged? You?
I thoroughly enjoyed it and continue feeling that I did enjoy the movie thoroughly. However, I can understand that for a lot of people, it seems that the movie itself was very, I don't know, it didn't stand out as far as becoming a classic. You know, it was just kind of one of those movies that was very good, but very good for its time. Not meant to really move on from that point. So I could understand, you know, maybe some people just weren't too interested in it.
See, I would agree for the most part, except I think the parts that it gets right kind of does make it a classic. I think one thing we can say about Bobby is he has kind of made us rethink about it and notice some weak spots, but overall, I think there's a couple things in this movie where if done so well, I can look over those real easily, for the most part.
Now, Bobby.
Oh my god, like, you know, I was just so, like, the best way I could put Zootopia why I don't like this movie is, this is gonna sound really, like, low standard for me to say this, but, you know in high school when you have that, you know, assembly where they try to teach you about diversity and they really just, you know, you could tell that these students, they don't know how to address, you know, like actual, like, bigots or racist people. Yeah, that's my biggest problem with this movie.
And that's very weird because I actually was expecting something like that to happen, judging especially since this wasn't the original intention of the movie to address this problem.
Yeah, you mentioned how it's like it was originally just animals.
That's one of the reasons why a lot of people thought this was specifically catering to the furry community, which I could understand. I actually had that idea at some point. Though I think they just decided to change. Anyway.
Now, I gotta be real though, I really like that idea of, you know, doing a diversity movie but with animals. Like, when I first saw the teaser, Zootopia, I was like, dang, this is actually a good idea.
As for me, I was cautious about it, and I came out surprised.
Going back a little bit though, I'm actually surprised at how well they were able to address the problem though, because, I mean, the main problem I thought it was going to have was that it was going to become too preachy, in the same way that you were explaining, like, they were so focused on just saying, it doesn't matter, just let everyone be, that the points that they were going to make were just going to fall short and very generalized and just slapped onto it. But it felt really organic throughout the story, you know. I mean, especially the way they, open up and Nick Wilde's backstory. It was just, I think it was very well executed.
Which, to clarify, doesn't happen until much later into the movie, which is why I'm gonna give you a chance to explain yourself, because I'm guessing you still really don't like the first half of the movie, right?
Especially the beginning. I kind of felt the main character, Judy Hopps, I don't know, I just felt like her parents, like, now I come from a family that doesn't like me being a journalist, so I should relate to this character, like, she should be practically my dad, but when I heard, like, her parents talking, well, we don't want to try new things because we don't get hurt, I'm just like, damn it.
Did you forget something?
No, that was my response.
So let me get this straight. You feel that like it was kind of like misrepresented for like how the parents' reaction was a bit exaggerated?
Yeah, I just kind of felt.
I can understand that. Though I felt like it was really necessary to actually get through the kind of people who have that kind of mentality to kind of click and say, oh, well, I can relate to that. You know, and the parents being able to relate to a character like that can then see what somebody as far back in their form of thought, even more than them, could actually come to change their mind very easily.
And here's the thing. Here's the thing. I can sort of get where you're coming from with that because essentially that's the only role her parents play throughout the story.
Exactly.
Wait, hold on. First off, are we gonna do spoilers in this?
Oh, obviously. Like, post it up inside like a credit sequence or so. Like there will be spoilers. Yeah. We're gonna spoil the entire
Because I will
movie.
say the one scene I did like with the parents further down the movie is when, like, you know, when she goes home after she thinks she can't, you know, do this after accidentally starting this whole, you know, bringing back the whole predator thing. When the parents are like, oh yeah, we worked with this kid who, like, you know, beat the crap out of you when you were a kid. And now, like, that scene with the parents I liked. I'll give it that.
Well, yeah. If you consider its placement in the plot, it does make sense that would be one of the parts you like because you did say that you prefer the second half of the movie, even though that's where my opinion differs. But I will say this. One thing I do think is appropriate to where like I don't have a problem much with the parents, despite their role being that little, is that the way they try to put Hops down is very much what you would expect from a parent. It's not like, oh, you ain't gonna be crap, you are gonna stay stuck here, and even trying is pointless. They're more like, we can kind of get where you're coming from, but there's a lot going up against you, it's very, very likely you're gonna fail. So, just stay safe around here.
And not to mention that it's also particularly dangerous, not only difficult in her position.
I'll give it that. At least it didn't go into that really, like, you know, hammered-in scene of you're not gonna amount to anything. You're not gonna, you know.
Yeah, what I said.
That's the difference with the scenario, though. They're not trying to tell her that she's just not cut out for it and that she shouldn't try. They're saying, even though you can, we're just really worried about your safety and would much rather prefer you in a very comfortable and safe position.
Yeah, I feel like if that wasn't as exaggerated, I would have been at least okay with that beginning scene.
See, I don't think it's really so much exaggerated, but you mentioned that it's not okay, I know I'm saying this like I know you or something, but it's essentially, I think your problem more is that not so much about what the characters are constantly going against her, it's that they're all against her. Like, there's very few people, or in this case animals, who are on her side to the point where her going through all of those all alone seems unrealistic.
Well, looking back, I do remember. You remember that scene after, like, she saves the tickets? There were those, like, other kids.
Yeah, but
like, yeah, we got our tickets back.
Yeah, I'd say for me that's kind of enough. But I do get what you're saying because in the end, those kids were pretty much strangers. So
yeah.
It would help if she had like a more personal subordinate on her side, which she does get later, but that years later after that moment. So.
Yeah, looking back on that, I guess I'm a little more lenient towards that scene now. But at the same time, I don't know. I mean, I know there's been cases of, like, you know, kids who want to do big things and they literally had no breaks, no help in their life. But something about this story, it doesn't make sense to me.
Okay, explain.
I don't know, like, I'm not sure if I could, like, think of any examples where the character literally has had no supporters. in their life, but just, I don't know, maybe it's because, Hop's growing up in this, farm community. Like, there's a community, people around.
Rabbits multiply.
Millions. Yes. That, I don't know, how much I should say, because now I'm kind of, I can look past that. But, I don't know, just growing up, there really wasn't, even if it was just, a friend that was only there for, before she goes to Zootopia, even that, I think, would be a little more unrealistic.
So, I don't know, I feel like that's been done a lot, and they just didn't want to emphasize the points in which she actually took advantage of an opportunity that she had in front of her. I mean, it seems like they never really kept her from going into the academy, so they're right then and there. It's a kind of a little way of showing that she actually did not have absolutely everyone against her. Not to mention that Mayor Lionheart explicitly says that he has what is called a mammal officer movement or something like that, where their objective was to get somebody like Judy Hobbs to become a police officer. So people were looking out for that kind of stuff.
Now that could be argued as, say, the mayor just trying to get more votes, but
no, but it does start out to play a big part, especially the person who starts off that initiative, which is not Mayor Lionheart.
We're gonna get there. We're gonna save that spot, because that's a meaty topic we've been arguing about hours.
Yes, hours about.
How long it's been recorded. Still have about a little under 8 minutes.
Okay.
Oh, man.
We're gonna have to divide it up.
Okay. Then so we're already getting into let's see, what was it? Oh yeah, we're mainly focusing on Hobbs in this story, so might as well go with one of the strongest parts of this movie, the visuals.
Oh
my
God!
And I'm especially mentioning this now because I've gone back through Tangled and Big Hero 6, which I thought were complete disappointments. And looking at the detail between those movies and comparing it to this, I mean, I know this is a newer product, but quite frankly, I haven't seen this amount of detail in their environment since back in the Disney Renaissance days. It's quite something to behold.
This may come as a surprise, but I was watching an interview Collider video had with the two directors of Zootopia.
Yeah. And
one of the animators told one of the directors that there's actually more information just from that one shot of the entire city than there is in the entire movie of Bolt.
I can believe that.
Gosh.
I can believe that. Bolt didn't, Bolt was very limited in the setting, so.
That is true.
Just comes to show how far Disney has come. But yeah, definitely like the designs. And the great thing, unlike Big Hero 6, which I like that movie, by the way.
Yeah, you don't hate it like I do.
Is that you actually get to explore, this world.
Thank you.
Yeah, I remember that's what you said was your biggest problem with Big Hero 6, though they did make a very great environment. They didn't really take advantage and explore that environment.
The first 20 minutes, after that first 20 minutes, you learn nothing new. Nothing! But yeah, off tangent, back to you.
Yeah, I mean, just, you actually get to see, there's this, really tiny, rodent community.
Oh, yeah!
She's like a giant, and then, there's I guess you could say...
Donut!
Was it what?
Oh, yeah, remember? You don't remember?
The little fight scene with the weasel and the
Oh, yeah!
Okay, that leads to another scene. Continue off where you just got lost.
Well, I was just giving examples of, showing, this world works. Oh, by the way, unlike Big Hero 6, Zootopia is actually divided into, these different districts.
Oh, yeah.
Really cool how, there's this, rainforest place.
It's like an actual zoo.
So, I thought that was really creative.
Don't you have something?
On the
on the visuals.
The visual, the world setting. You get it.
I just fell in love with the world setting, especially once you just get that introductory scene into the heart of Zootopia. It just screamed like downtown New York. You know, it's just.
Mm-hmm. Oh, speaking of which, wait, in the beginning, remember there was that. What was it? Was it like a coffee stand where?
Oh yeah!
Okay,
With the little rodent. Oh my gosh!
There's a whole bunch of scenes throughout this movie where they kind of parody the lifestyle of casual New York, but put a lot of the gags in this movie are based on little details of like, okay, how would an animal-run society work? So there's like scenes where you get Jamba juices, where the Jamba juice goes up a tube so a rodent can feed a giraffe. You got hippos who get dry cleaned in order to get their suits ready for a meeting. You got like
and one of the first ones you actually see is this, the train that hopsticks. There's even like smaller doors for like rodents to come out, and big ones obviously
for like.
When I first saw that trailer, I was like, "Hey, cool!"
And in fact. That even leads to the introduction of our second character, Nick, where he basically scans a bunch of hamsters, a bunch of elephants, a bunch of everyone by getting an elephant-sized popsicle, melting it down in the snow, making mini paw-sized popsicles to sell to hamsters, then sell the sticks to construction sites.
Wait, before we move completely out of the topic of the visuals, can we just take a moment to appreciate that they actually took the time to figure out how a rabbit would put earbuds on? It's one of the main things that a lot of people have been having problems with all the time when you're looking at animation. They're like, their ears are up here, right? And they decide to put the headphones or earbuds right here. And I was just like, thank you.
Bugs Bunny can bend the laws of physics. I'm sure he has like a second pair of ears down there.
It just shows how much time and effort they actually put to think things like this through.
I don't know. My biggest complaint was they're still using those really tiny square-shaped iPods.
I actually did not have a problem with that.
I don't know. Maybe the techie in me.
I guess.
Get with the times. Get an iPad. Stop sticking to that squares.
Squares. Okay.
And there's like a little under 2 minutes, so should we go on?
Yeah, I think we should split parts now.
Yeah. So join us. Yeah, my camera only records 20 minutes at a time. So join us in part 2, and I'll probably put some kind of annotation thingy-majig in front of Gabby. I don't know.
That's off my face. No, okay. We already mentioned how. Do you have anything more to say about the visuals right now?
No. I think that's about it.
You?
No, other than it's probably the best aspect of the movie, in my opinion.
Yeah, very colorful, very well directed at points. Movement is great, details are great. That part is one of the best parts of the movie.
Again, it shouldn't be a surprise since that was the main focus when they were coming up with the idea.
Which is why we now go into the story. And
Dun dun dun!
this one I do, in retrospect, kind of agree with Bobby, and that's mainly because, with a couple exceptions, mostly from Pixar, Disney stories are, on retrospect, not that good.
Now, the one thing is that Bobby and I, the point that you kind of had a problem with, which we're going to explain just in a moment, we didn't seem to actually have a problem with that, which is the weirdest thing of all this.
And yet, what you do have problems with are stuff that I don't have problems with at all. So
exactly.
Let's go with mine is great. Now we're all split on
major spoiler. We are not going to talk about the villain of this wonderful movie.
Hey, wait, that's the only thing I had a problem with.
Exactly.
The bad guy. Don't have one more thing when you watch the movie.
Exactly. Now, What exactly was her name again? I can't really remember.
I don't know. I don't
Assistant
care.
Mayor.
We'll call her Mrs.
Because
Sheep.
Mrs.
Sheep.
That's what I keep on calling her because she had that little of a presence throughout the movie.
Yeah.
And suddenly, boom!
Like,
I'm the bad guy. It expects you to buy it.
Now, let me explain why I actually do not have a problem with that.
But first,
because-
let me mention where it fits into the story.
Okay.
Which the story is pretty much just your it's your typical cop procedural in a lot of ways, combined with a fulfill your dreams children's story. And the thing about police procedurals, in my opinion, is they're very much about the tension at the moment and the payoff. And on one aspect, the tension at the moment, since the movie doesn't take itself too seriously, it's actually very funny in between, in my opinion anyway. We'll get to that later.
But I laughed harder at other Disney movies.
Yeah, we'll elaborate on that. But I think because it now keeps itself mostly at a funny level, the moments that are tense, you can go along with it. Because like it's tense for this level. And to its credit, sometimes it is genuinely tense on its own.
I have a question on that. Did you guys think the tone was a little inconsistent?
No.
Or is it just
No.
me?
No. You want totally inconsistent? Watch Django Unchained.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I could see either way, but go on.
Actually, wait, no. You want totally inconsistent? Hey, I love Man of Steel, but that joke about Henry Cavill being hot is stupid.
I have no idea what they're talking about right here.
And we're getting sidetracked.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yep.
But, so on that level, it succeeds. But it doesn't save a predictable story because now, at the end of the day, it goes exactly the places you expect it to go, with the exception of the payoff, which I was still able to predict it in spite of that. I mean, come on, how surprising can you get? But the payoff it expects you to go with is noticeably weaker, in my opinion, than the rest.
And I feel like that's what they were going for with the whole thing, because I remember just kind of being mind blown the first time that I got to see this movie. I actually got to watch it twice.
Yeah.
Looking at it a second time, though, it's surprising just how all up in your face the character starts to become, because you're like, wow, where does this, this little sheep come into play in this whole thing? You see her,
Where does she come into play? She's the mayor's assistant. She has power.
I'm saying as far as presentation in the story. Because, you only start to notice her, like, when she kind of tries to get her voice heard by, like, Mayor Reinhardt. At that point, you're just kind of like, oh, okay. And for me, one of the main things that kept me from really looking at her was that I thought that she was just several different generic sheep.
No, wait.
I know, yes.
What?
Yes, okay. I actually would have had a bit of a problem following who was what, as far as the secondary characters went. Looking at it another time, I was surprised to see that all those times, it's that same little sheep kind of sticking their nose out there saying, hi, don't forget I'm here.
Hey, we disagree with you there. Because now, that was not...
No, again, that was from my second time watching the movie. Okay? Because she starts to come up, not only when you're first introduced to Mayor Lionheart. Sorry.
I'm surprised you even remember the names apart from Nixon Hops. I just know him as Mr.
After that, when Nick and Judy Hopps start to, get really big leads on it, she was there to help them get into the footage of the security camera. And not only that, but she keeps reminding Judy Hopps, if you need somebody to support you and all of that, I'm right here. And she just starts to seem a little too nice, to the point when you have that confrontation with Judy Hopps and her, where she's about to give her that significant piece of evidence. You kind of click and say, hey, she's kind of just giving it to her, and something feels off about that. And from that point, the payoff seems to go well for me. Again, it's only because of my second viewing.
But
So that's why it worked out for me.
I don't know, like that. Cause that aspect. It just makes it look like the assistant mayor. I just see that more as winking to the audience, being like, "Hey, pay attention to me, pay attention."
Exactly.
It's like, I don't know, I've only seen Zootopia once, but my take on the character before the big reveal, I was just like, "Oh, hey there," every time.
Exactly, and that was what they wanted you to do with that character. The second time going around, you're kind of already knowing I should be looking at you, and you're just staring at me in the face.
Here's the thing, though. I get that they were trying to do that, and I think it was a poor choice because that kind of role can only be effective if A, they are meant to be if they are meant to be a supporter throughout and reveal something towards the end that isn't the plot decider, but rather something that links up to something else. The only exception besides that is you need at least one or two scenes before that indicate something is wrong. And I think they revealed that stuff way too late into the movie.
Yeah, at that point, I gotta be honest, I was also one of the people that was like, she's the main bad guy.
And here's the thing, you said it was a surprise. As for me, the moment that they start mentioning a quote-unquote sheep clad, I'm just like, please, oh God, please don't let it. You cannot be this stupid. You cannot be this stupid, not at the last 20 minutes. And it did!
And I hate to bring this movie up for the upteenth millionth time, but even in, I guess this is a spoiler for this movie too, if you haven't seen it, Minority Report, Eric, even when I first saw that movie, I was like, X-Force thought it was the bad guy. At least in that movie, when I backtrack, I was like, okay, that makes a whole lot of sense. This movie, I'm just like,
it kind of makes sense, maybe? But here's the thing, okay, I get what you're trying to say, that she does have a motivation, she does have the means, and she does appear several times throughout the movie. But it's hard to buy her as a threat towards the end. I mean, it even makes you question, okay, we know you have the means to do this, but I don't think you're as smart as this demands you to be.
It kind of plays into my biggest problem about this whole evil plan, and I think it pisses me off even more because this is a movie that tackles diversity, and that so the evil plan is you're gonna shoot predators with this serum that turns them back into predators. Really, maybe for Captain Planet that would have been nice.
It doesn't just necessarily turn them back into predators. It just makes them go wild. That's the whole fact of that. When you go back to I don't remember, Bunny Burrow, and the bunny dad tells all the younger ones to stay away from those flowers.
Here's the thing, though.
It's just a reminder that this isn't necessarily just going, savage. This is going crazy, lunatic, bloodthirsty. No matter what kind of animal you are.
Here's the thing, though. It does bring up two major plot holes into the movie. One, if there was realistically, yeah, I know I'm bringing realism into this, sue me, but if we're bringing up the fact that there is material, which we all know that there is material out there that can make animals go crazy, why in the world would there not be a ban at this point? I mean, they expect you to buy that. Oh, we just saw them as onions, and yet the only people that knew to stay away from them were the bunny farmers.
I didn't get that, to be honest.
Okay, that makes sense.
Especially since, even more specifically, I would buy it if it only went against predators. Because you know what? They say in the movie, predators only account for 10% of the population. It'd make sense that they wouldn't know. They would think that it's just something that unleashes them. And I would have liked an explanation for that, rather than, oh, it affects everybody. Bullshit.
Okay.
If it affected everybody, then
did they not? No. Okay.
Wait, I'm totally lost on that.
Okay, let me just put it simply. The fact that it affects not only predators but herbivores as well makes it even more unbelievable to believe that they would overlook it all this time.
Yeah, that was one point I really wish like the movie was more like that. You know?
Because that's the thing, like up to that point, I thought the whole like unleashing the predatory instinct. We mentioned this movie's a lot about prejudice, but that brings up a lot of like the fear to Muslims.
Oh, definitely.
And the moment it says, "Oh, it can affect everyone," it kind of loses that effect. It's like, oh, anyone can be affected. Okay, actually, no, never mind. Because that does bring up the point where like anyone who has a gun or a bomb can be a terrorist. So I guess I can overlook that. But you get what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, kind of like.
It's
going a little bit more into the complexity of that kind of nature.
Yeah, it simplifies it.
Right.
Wow, I think I might have just broke this movie. Save it right now. Someone save this movie.
Despite all of that, I think there would have been worse ways to actually, kind of mess that aspect up. They didn't go all the way and do some generic simplified explanation for it. It was a tad bit original in the sense that you hadn't seen something of that nature before.
Yeah, but you know what else you didn't see before and entirely ruined the movie for me? Iron Man 3. Ben Kingsley is an actor for the real supervillain Guy Pearce. Also done by Disney.
Woo.
We're gonna be slamming Disney movies all afternoon.
Oh yeah. Cinderella is misogynistic. And Pocahontas is racist. Lion King teaches you the wrong examples in life. You can get away with lies.
Sleeping Beauty endorses what's it called? Homestuck syndrome? Stockholm syndrome.
Tangled to the list.
We still love Star Wars, Voice of Evil. Yes!
And Gravity Falls.
Yay! Two shows that actually make sense in retrospect. But okay. Bringing up that plot hole shows that this story, like a lot of Disney movies, is kind of weakly put together when it comes to the whole police thriller thing.
Police thriller.
It's like the buddy cop thing.
Yeah, you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It felt more buddy cop than a police thriller, but go ahead.
Yeah. Here's the thing, and I keep on emphasizing that that's what I think causes the weakest parts of the movie. When it tries to be a police procedural and it's trying to be serious about it, that tendency to oversimplify or not build up to it, just try to stick more to surprises. That's why I think twists are overrated. That a good twist means nothing against good build-up. But when it comes to actually not focusing on the thriller aspect and more onto the personal drama, and this is where I disagree with you, Bobby. I was near tears throughout moments of this movie when it was specifically on the personal drama.
And I was actually able to connect to some of the characters at some point, so I could definitely feel the drama there. Kind of like level with it.
I mean, like I've already said about Hobbs, but
actually, here's the thing. You mentioned about how they tell their story, but you mentioned that you have another problem with just Hobbs as a character. You said that she lacks personality. What was it?
I don't know. I didn't really get much out of her. I mean, I'm really weird when it comes to characters I should relate to, but something about them not quite. I mean, remember what I said about we're gonna sidetrack again, but like when I was talking about Connie from Steven Universe, you were telling me you should relate to this, and I was just like, Connie's just a good friend of Steven's.
And I was just like, Fred, how dare you? Do you not see? Okay, yeah, we're not gonna get sidetracked by Steven Universe. Okay,
but
really
basically didn't really get into Hop's character, and then in the case of Nick Wilde, I don't know. I'm really conflicted by his backstory. Like, I
Really?
like it.
Really? You're conflicted about the backstory? I thought you.
You thought that was one of the parts you actually liked.
I don't know, because I remember watching it, I was just like, on one hand, like, it's a very understandable reason the way he is. Like, you know, with the whole Boy Scout things. And now I have another reason to think my parents not putting me in the Boy Scouts. But just...
Spoiler alert, there is a scene with hazing. Your kids might be scarred. Yay! Me! But yeah, continue.
Just, I don't know, something about... Like, on one hand, I was like, oh, this is interesting. I wasn't crying, though. And I'm a pretty easy person to make to cry. I've cried, like, there have been times I've been embarrassed over the movies I cried.
I don't know, maybe it's because I own a dog. There's something like looking at those fox eyes cries, like,
Just...
and this is after being bitten by a dog. I still went,
So just, I don't know, 2 minutes.
You good then?
Well, I guess we can add in one more specifically. We can have more in-depth discussion with Nix and Hops and how it goes with the conclusion or so.
Ah.
Because I do think like that's the part that really saves the movie, despite like some parts being lackluster.
Definitely. I think that's one of the points that really stands out.
Next part.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Just like we did for the Star Wars Force Awakens.
Yep. Dang, didn't know we were going to talk this long. Okay.
Because it's getting a pain to go back record. So, we mentioned with the visuals, we mentioned that the story is weak, but there's good parts about it. What about the comedy?
Like I said, I've laughed harder in other Disney films.
I did laugh, though I will admit I'm very easy to amuse as far as humor goes.
I don't know. I remember.
So I wouldn't expect anybody to really find it as funny as I did.
I think, for me personally, I think a lot of the comedy comes in two places. One, obviously, we mentioned before, the visuals, just like how these minute details almost work like 3 layers of Looney Tunes gags all at once. Like, but the other thing is, and you might disagree with it, but I thought that the dialogue, for the most part, was on the whole pretty well written. I mean, they really did capture like the banter of like casual talk, almost like this back and forth between individuals. Like no matter like what ranking you are, you're always talking in a certain level.
I will admit they did manage to be very, very smart with the humor, and it's, as far as the dialogue goes, it shines through with that. There is one line I remember that just did not go very well, but it's one line out of like the whole script that you're introduced to in the whole movie. So I really easily, just looked it over.
Wait, what was that one line?
The one where they introduced the sheep guy, the Walter White.
Yeah, pretty much.
Parody guy, yeah.
Like, he's not friendly.
He's the opposite of friendly.
He's
unfriendly.
To which I say, is this gonna turn into unfriended?
Yeah, I remember you said that.
Yeah. But apart from that, very, very well written. And especially Nick Wilde when he just...
Nick Wilde and Hoff, which we're pretty much getting onto that. The two leads, I think, are what, for me personally, saved the movie. Their chemistry was, it had a clear arc throughout it. Their banter between each other was hilarious to watch. I didn't feel like one was dominating over the other at any time. It's always like oh, I'm here, no you're here, and constantly trying to find a place and eventually reaching the same place. And for the most part, I thought the way that their backstories were handled, how their personalities kind of went against but then joined up together, I thought that was all great.
My favorite part, especially of Nick Wilde's, I guess it was more of a monologue at that point, though Judy Hopps did get her chance to, respond to what he said, was that one moment when he was playing out the whole situation that he imagined her in, and nailing it to a T. just the delivery of those lines was just phenomenal for me. Like, I had not seen that done in a movie before.
I've seen it a couple times, but I get what you're saying. She's talking about the scene where it's like Nick Wilde is first being revealed as that kind of schemer, like oh no, what you're doing is wrong. It's like, oh yeah, well how right are you? And I'm gonna tell you like how exactly it's gonna turn out for you if you keep being naive about this.
Yeah, and I mean, like, it definitely grasps a sense of reality more than anything, which is why I liked it so much. You know, and the ability to imitate that kind of reality through a kid's movie, I just fell in love with that, you know. I've always been for that. You know, kind of like giving children a little taste of what the real world is without really scarring them, you know. I mean, there are good ways to introduce kids to this form of mindset and you know, having them not get scared of it, you know?
Yeah, I don't know about. You're talking about the scene where he's chapped the first time, and he was like, "Yeah, you're from what was that place? That carrot?"
Yeah, like
yeah.
You said, "Bunny Brow? How about carrot farmer?" Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of felt that scene was a little too blatant, to be honest.
Though I guess the fact that they were able to play that out in a kids movie, that's my whole thing. You know.
I guess, but even then, like, I kind of felt it was just like you know, I don't know, like, the best way, like, I could describe it is just, like, I guess it's just, like, I feel like he said, like, you know, we get, like, what he's saying about her from all this, and just, still trying to formulate what it is. It's just, you really have to, like, say all this to get the point that, like, at first Nick doesn't, you know, think much of Hops or
well, I think more than anything, I guess I have friends who have that sort of mentality where they just take you. Definitely. Where they'll just like, even if it's not something they really care about, they'll take the time just because they find it amusing to kind of like find a way to see if they can put you down. And it's not necessarily that it's a bad thing. They're just trying to figure out how much you can take.
I will say it is impressive and even kind of funny how like Nick is able to, you know, pick out, you know, the details of
exactly, and that was my main thing because the moment I saw that they were going to go with that, I felt like it would be so easy to just mess that up with getting with the delivery just falling short, even though they got all of the details right. But it's a very good example of how to execute such a type of dialogue.
Yeah, it kind of got on my nerves. Oh, by the way, Destin, if you ever watch this, Star Butterfly rocks!
And stop trying to make it seem like Barney the dinosaur is trying to molest him.
Inside jokes, guys.
Yeah, we have a friend of ours who likes to impersonate as Barney the dinosaur, the child molester.
Fake identity. Identity.
But yeah, here's the other thing. Like you mentioned, like, you had problem with their personality and their chemistry, but honestly, like, what I really liked about their chemistry is that they learn from each other, and not from, like, I'm directly telling you this, I'm directly telling you this as well, so we learn from each other. It's more like they learn from even, like, the slightest bit, like, right the moment when, like, you know, Nick is done with his monologue and humiliating Hops comes back with the exact same tactics that he just laid on her, and at the same time it works both ways. Like, towards the end, like, he learns to be a bit more humble and understanding, specifically from her attitude at the start and towards the middle part. Like, I thought they had great chemistry together, but you said, like, you didn't feel any of them?
Yeah, I mean, I had a sense of, you know, them working together, but I don't know, it just didn't hit me.
I don't know, I feel like...
In fact, like, I think that scene, you know, that scene where, like, when Nick, like, tells Hops, like, you know, you know, hey, you know, Zootopia is not, you know, the great place it is, and you're probably just going to be a carrot farmer. I kind of feel like, I know what, like, the makers of the movie were trying to do, but I kind of felt that scene kind of got on my nerves, to be honest, and it took me until Nick's backstory to, was when I could at least be like, okay, I'll follow you on, so...
Well, I don't know. I guess from the beginning you kind of get the sense that Nick just had something that just kind of crashed his dreams at a very young age. So
and when we do learn what it is,
you're like, no wonder.
Awkward, but yeah, just you two actually got that sort of sense. Like, did something happen to him?
Eddie, it did.
Because I didn't get that at all. Although maybe it's because I'm terrible at, predicting events.
Well, I don't know.
He should have been a man. He should have gone through that hating like a man.
Though I feel like some people could find it hard to really pick up on that unless they have experience with people like that. I mean, there are examples in real life who are not exactly like a character like Nick Wilde, but had
a moment like
similar experiences where you're just like, well, yeah, no wonder. Plus, I've always been the kind of person that there is a reason why somebody turns bad, and everybody originally comes out with good intentions.
Except if you're a dominator from Wander over Yonder, which means you're born evil.
Wander over Yonder sounds like the kids' version of Unbreakable.
Unbreakable?
Unbreakable.
What was it, that Shyamalan movie?
Yeah, it's the one with, like, you're either born a villain or born a super... No, it's not that. It's only for that one character.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, for that one character. And even then, let's just say he doesn't really do that, right?
But now...
Anyway.
I still can't tell I guess wrap this up, there's only one thing I had to bring up. You said that... And I mentioned this in the behind-the-scenes footage you'll never see. You mentioned several times that you think this movie is preachy.
Preachy?
Well, I changed my mind on that. Like, not preachy, just could have told a little better. And in fact, I remember after the movie's done, I could sum up, like, my issue with that, the Shakira song, Try to Fix. I've listened to a couple times,
but even that, you said like it was preachy and overdone. Like,
I guess that's what he's saying. He's had time to think that through and change his mind.
I was just like thinking, like, could they, if they're gonna teach diversity, could they do it in a more intelligent way? Like I was talking earlier, like.
Well, I mean,
I don't know. I'm not saying it should be like super like complex. I mean, my sister was like, "What do you want to do? You want Disney to get super complicated?" And I was like, "No, I'm just saying there's got to be a better way to teach these kind of things."
And I feel like, it's the fact that this lesson has been attempted to be taught so many times. It's really hard to come up with original ideas and and more intelligent ways of showing it, because it's a lesson that people, no matter how, understanding they are, it's just really hard to get through. Mm-hmm. And until,
like, to me, I felt like what they could have done is made the, not just the villain, but the characters, like, some of the characters who have that sort of, hateful sense, like, a bit more, lack of a better term, human, I guess, because I remember there was that scene with the weasel with the donut. Why is every other word out of his mouth like some kind of a racial slur? Like,
he had a racial slur? I thought he was more of a crackhead. like you got the stuff? You got the stuff, man? I got special edition stuff right here.
You know what I'm talking about? The one that Hops was chasing. Like,
yeah, but I only remember him saying copper or something like that.
No, every other word out of his mouth was like, he doesn't say like real like racial slurs. I'm just saying,
I actually did not notice that at all.
I don't know. That scene kind of it's kind of cool. We see, the little rodent people, but I don't know. I just felt they could have made the characters that had beef, like, they could have made them a little more,
For me, the only instance of an attempt to come up with a slur or some sort of I don't know, what do you call those kinds of words anyway?
We just say racial slurs.
I
That's what we
guess,
said.
yeah, like the whole
class.
scene with the leopard where he's like, "Oh, you're so cute." I mean, I was just kind of like, really? That's where you're going to make something like that from? I mean, I don't know.
We take big offense from being called cute. I don't know what society you deem acceptable to call us rabbits and rodents cute. God damn it, it's like
I'm literally scratching my head.
Oh my gosh, yes!
You call me cute!
Again, Steven Universe reference. Go watch!
Yes.
But, and even then, it was like, I don't know, I never really had too much of a problem. Of course, it wasn't very well done, but again, you could just look over that.
I mean, I guess it's not harmful, in terms of teaching basic, don't be prejudiced, but could they make it a little more? I mean, I know you're not a racist company anymore, Disney, but
okay, let's clarify. What would you have changed in this movie? Not specifics. I mean, what in general would you have changed?
I don't know. Like I said, just the dialogue of the characters that had before. Just that. I kind of felt if it at least did that, they made the or even the evil plan, like I said before, especially in a movie that tries to teach diversity, you're gonna sum it down to, look, I'm drinking the serum that turns that makes the predators go nuts.
Though I don't know, I still kind of not really getting the idea of where you got the first impression that it was kind of preachy. I guess it's
not preachy. Just I don't think it hits home with its message.
Do you think it doesn't? Do you think it overdoes it, or it doesn't go far enough?
Maybe I'm tending towards overdoes it, but at the same time, I'm making it sound like we're in Pocahontas where we're just gonna hammer in,
See, that's a movie I would call preachy.
Oh, definitely. No, I feel I guess the way you're getting the message very well. So for you, all the time that they're trying to get this message, it might just overwhelm you. Not in the sense where it's oh my god, this is too much, but more than okay, we get it. Though some people are just. It gets really hard to get that message through to certain people. So I guess if they were going to take the time to make that message, they take the time to make sure that as many people as they can get that message. It's something that's really hard to get rid of.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
for that.
I guess because we live in a society that just heavily encourages diversity. Don't have a problem with that. Keep that up. But I'm just saying. But my problem is that's just it. That's all. When we try to teach diversity, we just seem to preach it rather than.
Though that's one of the things. I think the way they managed to do it in Zootopia, it goes through a little better. Yeah. And again, with something like what happened with Trump, it just shows that this lesson still needs to be taught.
And taught in a more better way because
I think the bigger problem is you haven't seen a lot of Predator stories, and the ones you have seen, you have very strict standards for Predator stories. I mean, if it ain't up to Schindler's List level,
not expecting Zootopia to
or Color Purple.
Color Purple is more of a feminist story. But
that don't count as
that's when I can tell Schindler's List is if I were to compare. I know I just said don't, but it's like if you took Ray Fine's character, the Commandant, and get rid of his if you got rid of the scenes of his more human scenes, yeah.
I can kind of see what you're getting at. You wanted it to be more human, but I think the reason why they kept it to that level is that they wanted to leave some form of complexity, but mostly through the two main leads. Which you mentioned your biggest problem is you don't get into the leads that much, and the rest of the characters they're more cartoonish.
Right.
I think that pretty much sums it up. Like, what saves the movie for me is that the two leads, I really bought into their experience, and anytime it's dealt on them, it made me laugh, it made me cry, and it made me want to cheer them on, even if I wasn't that much into the story. If you don't buy into the two leads, yeah, you're gonna be like this guy. Because as it stands, that's really the only thing that manages to keep, in my opinion, make this movie a classic. As it stands, it's just a good movie that's saved by the leads to make a great movie, which still means 9 out of 10 go see it.
For me, I actually bought into the movie pretty quickly, and the way that the characters developed was just icing on the cake. So I just love the movie.
Yeah. Maybe that, like, two-lead mentality, it works with Disney's cartoon TV shows, but in a movie about diversity, they could have done it better, so 5 out of 10.
You're still giving it a 5 out of 10, even at all those discussions? I mean, you're putting it under always, okay, we're getting off topic.
Yeah, and we gotta end this.
How dare you put it at 5 out of 10? I am gonna get you for this.
Right.
Bye!
I was gonna put that at the ending.